I told my friend why women reject him. Now he says I'm jealous. He's never had a girlfriend, never had a friend group. When I told him why, my friend can't get a girlfriend and blames the entire world. I never thought I'd be the villain in someone's personal tragedy, especially not in the eyes of my own best friend. But apparently, telling the truth now counts as betrayal. So be it. This is the story of how my lifelong friend Nathan, a guy I once considered a brother, pushed me away because I told him what everyone else was too polite to say. And yes, I said it bluntly. Nathan and I met through our families when we were kids. He's now 25, and I'm 24. We grew up in the same area, occasionally saw each other at community events or holidays, but we truly became close in our late teens, mostly because we were both a bit socially awkward and didn't really fit in with the in crowd. But even then, Nathan was different. He was homeschooled from kindergarten through college, and now, even law school, fully remote. He never experienced the chaos of public school cafeterias, hallway cliques, or gym class humiliations. His world was books, screens, and adults, mostly his parents, grandparents, and a few elderly family friends. Now, don't get me wrong, Nathan is intelligent, academically gifted even. He just graduated with honors and is currently studying law, supposedly from a decent online program. He's driven, meticulous, and serious about his future. But when it comes to real life, social interaction, emotional intelligence, Nathan's lost. He's never had a girlfriend, never been kissed, never been on a real, successful date. He's a 25-year-old man with the romantic and social instincts of a frightened deer. It's not even just the dating stuff. The guy barely has friends. Aside from me, he hasn't formed close bonds with anyone his own age. He prefers hanging out with his parents or elderly neighbors. His idea of fun is watching 60 Minutes and reading historical war biographies. Over the years, I've watched him struggle, again and again, trying to connect with women. His family has even tried setting him up multiple times since 2021. Different girls, different situations, same result every time. They lose interest. Quickly. At first, I was supportive. I gave him advice, tried to boost his confidence, encouraged him to be himself. But as time went on, I noticed a disturbing pattern. All the girls who rejected him gave similar reasons. And Nathan? He never listened. Instead, he blamed the girls. It's because I'm not tall enough. They only want bad boys. They're intimidated by my future success. He kept saying he was a good guy, and women just didn't know how to appreciate one. Over and over. Same bitterness, same script. But if I'm being brutally honest, it's not the world that's the problem. It's Nathan. And one day, I snapped and told him exactly why. Let's start with the basics. Physically, Nathan is about 5 feet 2 inches, extremely thin, borderline fragile. He's got a receding hairline that makes him look mid-40s and absolutely zero muscle tone. He once struggled to carry a small grocery bag and had to switch hands halfway to the car. Now, obviously, none of that should automatically disqualify someone from dating. But combined with the rest of his issues, it matters. And worse, he refuses to do anything about it. I've invited him to the gym with me countless times. Encouraged him to get stronger, not just for looks, but for confidence, posture, basic health. He came once, struggled to lift 10 pounds, and never returned. It's not for me, he said. He dresses like a retired history teacher, tucked in button-downs, slacks, loafers, every single day. He says he wants to look professional since he's going to be a lawyer. But he's not in court. He's going to class in his bedroom. He refuses to wear jeans, hoodies, sneakers. Says casual clothes are sloppy. But even all of that could be forgiven if he had a personality. Unfortunately, he doesn't. I hate to say it, but it's like talking to drywall sometimes. When we've gone out on double dates, which I arranged, Nathan becomes a silent ghost. He barely speaks. And when he does, it's about school, or legal theory, or World War II logistics. The girls try to make small talk. They smile, ask questions. He gives one-word answers. No follow-ups. No jokes. No stories. Silence. Dead air. Cringe. Eventually, they give up. And Nathan blames them for being shallow. They're not serious enough. They just want some TikTok influencer with abs. No, Nathan. They just want someone who can talk. One night, he was ranting about how all women just want tall jerks and no one respects good men anymore. That's when I lost it. And I told him the truth. I told him the truth. and he hated me for it. I told him exactly what no one else had the guts to say. You're a dork. He stared at me, stunned. I'm not saying that to be mean, I clarified. But you walk around thinking women owe you love just because you're not a criminal. That's not how this works. He was silent, but his eyes said everything. Confusion, hurt, pride boiling under the surface. I pushed on. You don't have to be tall or ripped or ultra smooth, but you do have to be interesting, fun, confident, something. I told him girls want someone they can laugh with, someone who makes them feel something. He wasn't giving off good man energy. He was giving off distant uncle who only talks about taxes vibes. He blinked, tightened his jaw, said nothing. I kept going, maybe harsher than I intended. You've got no hobbies, no passions, no sense of adventure. You don't do anything. You don't try anything. Your whole life is books, lectures, and complaining. Still nothing. So I went in deeper. You dress like you're going to a retirement party. You talk like you're on AM radio. You're allergic to fun, terrified of the world, and anytime someone suggests doing something outside your 2-inch comfort zone, you flinch like a kitten. His hands clenched into fists, but he still didn't speak. So I finished the monologue. Girls aren't rejecting you because they hate good men. They're rejecting you because you're boring, and you refuse to change. That's on you. That did it. He exploded. You're picking on me. You always make fun of me. I can't help how I was raised. I didn't get to go to public school or make friends. And now you're throwing that in my face. I said, I'm not blaming you for the past. I'm telling you how to move forward. But it was too late. He wasn't listening. Nobody accepts me as I am, he said. Everyone wants me to be someone else. Even you. I told him, everyone has to grow, evolve. That's life. Nobody's asking you to become a frat boy or change your soul. We're asking you to engage with reality. He muttered something about fake people and how the world doesn't deserve his loyalty. Then came the final dagger. You're just jealous, he said. Jealous? I laughed in disbelief. Of what? My future. My career. You think just because you're fun, you've got life figured out. But I'm gonna be someone. A lawyer. A respected man. And you'll be a broke nobody. I blinked. That one actually stung. I'd always supported him, even when he made no sense. Even when he was stuck in his little echo chamber of bitterness and theory. I was the one who took him out, encouraged him, defended him, and now I was the jealous friend. Cut to black. A pause, then a door slamming shut. I walked away that night. Said nothing. Didn't even text him the next day. My dad, when I told him, said I might have been a little harsh, but not wrong. He's just insecure, Dad said. Maybe apologize. Give it time. But I didn't want to, because for once, I had stood up for truth. And the truth is, Nathan was toxic, and I couldn't carry his delusions forever. But the story wasn't over yet. He wasn't done trying to prove he was better. And what happened next was almost laughably tragic. The fantasy of the future lawyer. After our blow-up, I didn't talk to Nathan for days, then weeks. He didn't reach out either, not to apologize, not to explain, not even to argue more. But I could see from his social media, the little he used, that he was trying to prove a point. Suddenly, he started posting motivational quotes about being unappreciated, choosing to walk alone, and the pain of being too real in a fake world. Cringe. Then there were the legal memes, judge gavels, courtroom screenshots, lawyer grindset captions. You could tell he was trying to craft a new identity, the silent genius, the misunderstood warrior, future top attorney. But I knew better. I knew the truth behind the polished LinkedIn selfies and quotes from Cicero. Nathan couldn't hold a conversation. How was he supposed to become a lawyer? I mean, it's not just about knowing the law. It's about presence, communication, persuasion, reading people. And Nathan? Nathan could barely look a waitress in the eye when ordering water. One night, I reached out. A final attempt. I told him, forget the dating stuff for a second. If you really want to be a great lawyer, you have to improve your social skills. No matter how smart you are, if you can't speak with confidence or connect with clients, you're not going to make it. His reply? You don't understand. Once I get my degree, that's all that matters. Respect comes with titles. People will listen when I'm Attorney Nathan. I nearly laughed out loud. Titles don't change who you are inside. I wrote, if you're boring and anxious now, you'll be boring and anxious in a suit. A JD doesn't fix personality. That's when the mask came off. He unleashed a full paragraph of bitterness, how I represent everything wrong with society, how people like me only care about charm and fun, and how, in the end, it'll be people like me who are begging for help while people like him rise to the top. He ended with this gem. One day, you'll come crawling to me needing legal help, and I'll remember how you disrespected me. I sat there staring at that message. Not angry, just sad. I wasn't the villain in his story. I was the only person who'd ever truly tried to help him. But in his mind, I was now the enemy, the jealous friend, the faker, the threat, and I realized something painful but freeing. Our friendship had died a long time ago. This was just the eulogy. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was watching someone actively ruin their life, in slow motion. And what came next only confirmed it. The one friend he had. When I say I was Nathan's only real friend, I'm not exaggerating. He had no crew, no support circle, no bros or college friends to fall back on. Just me, and a handful of older relatives who probably still thought he was 12. I tried. For years, I tried. I introduced him to people, invited him to group hangouts, brought him along to parties, barbecues, game nights, all in the hope that he might open up, get a little more comfortable, maybe even enjoy himself. But it never worked. He'd sit in the corner, not speak unless spoken to, or he'd make awkward, outdated references that no one understood. If someone mentioned going out for drinks, he'd frown and say, "That's a reckless lifestyle." One time someone played a party playlist, and he literally asked, "Can we switch to classical?" My friends tried, genuinely. But after a while, people gave up, and he blamed them, said they were bad influences, immature, dangerous, said I was wasting time with party people. But they weren't dangerous. They were 25-year-olds, living, laughing, working hard, and having fun. Nathan acted like he was 70 trapped in a 25-year-old's body. And the worst part? He wasn't even okay with dating someone like him. No, he wanted the girl with the perfect body, the charming laugh, the glamorous smile, the one who lights up a room, the one with options, the one completely out of his league. But she also had to be pure, virginal, modest, wise, and somehow also into history lectures and old newspaper comics. He wanted Cinderella, with a JD and zero baggage. And when reality didn't serve her up, he got bitter. It was always the same rant. Women only want tall jerks. No one wants a serious guy anymore. They don't care about your future, just your looks. Society's broken. Eventually, I told him the harsh truth one last time. You don't want someone in your league. You want a fantasy. And when real women don't meet that fantasy, you blame them instead of yourself. That was it. The final nail. He cut me off completely. He messaged me out of nowhere. Cold, smug. Said he forgives me, even though I was cruel. Said he's taking the high road. Said I'm probably going to be a broke failure in life while he ascends to greatness. Then came the kicker. One day, the world will know what kind of man I am. And people like you will regret doubting me. It didn't hurt. Not anymore. I replied only once. I hope you find peace, Nathan. Not success. Not status. Peace. And then I blocked him. It's been a while since we spoke. I don't know what path he's on now. Maybe he's still chasing degrees and dismissing reality. Maybe he's still blaming everyone but himself. All I know is, I did my part. I tried. I stayed when others left. I spoke up when no one else would. I gave him honesty when everyone else gave him silence. And for that, I got painted as the villain. But I sleep easy at night. Because the truth? It might hurt, but it also heals. And sometimes, walking away from someone you once loved is the most honest thing you can do. Checkered flag, the end. She said she took the bus, but I had cameras. I never thought I'd turn into the guy who second-guesses his own wife. Never thought I'd sit alone in the middle of the night, scrolling through footage, heart racing, trying to prove to myself that everything was fine. But that's exactly what I became. My name's Derek. I'm 34. I've been married to my wife, Melissa, for almost 8 years. We have 2 young kids, 3 and 1. And on the surface, our life looked great. 2 solid jobs, a modest home, and a family we adored. I installed the camera to protect them. Not because I didn't trust her. Not because I was suspicious. No, I did it after there was a shooting on our street. Just a precaution. A responsible dad move. The camera faced our front door and caught a sliver of the street. I never imagined it would catch the beginning of the end. One night, About a week ago, Melissa came home and casually said she'd taken the bus. That wasn't unusual. She often mixed transit with Uber depending on how late she stayed at work. She works long hours at a corporate job. I didn't think twice. The next day, I opened the footage, looking for a missing package. Instead, I saw her, standing in front of our door, pausing, smiling, waving, to a car pulling away slowly. She wasn't dropped off by transit. She wasn't dropped off by Uber. She was dropped off by someone she knew. And she had lied. I didn't accuse her right away. Instead, I asked gently, "Hey, was that an Uber last night?" She hesitated. "Yeah, I think. I can't really remember. I was tired." I said nothing at first. Then I asked, "Do you usually wave at your Uber drivers from the doorstep?" That's when her story changed. She sighed and said, "Okay, it wasn't Uber. It was just a coworker who offered me a ride home. That's all." Now, I'm not a paranoid guy. I'm not the type to snoop, check phones, or make assumptions. But when someone lies to you 3 times in 10 seconds, you pay attention. I asked, "Was that the first time?" She nodded quickly. "Yeah, totally." But her eyes said something else. I didn't sleep well that night. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I dug. I went back through the past week of recordings. Same car. Over and over and over. He picked her up in the mornings when I had early shifts. Dropped her off after work. 3 times that week alone. I felt cold. Betrayal is a strange sensation. It doesn't hit like a hammer. It seeps. A slow, acid burn from the gut outward. You question your memory, your sanity. You wonder how long the lie has been breathing under your roof. That night, I confronted her again. "Melissa," I said, "I've seen the footage. I know this wasn't the first time." Her face went pale. She tried to keep calm, said it was still innocent. Just carpooling. She said I was making a big deal out of nothing. Nothing. Multiple lies. Repeated drop-offs. Hiding it entirely. That's not nothing. And yet, she flipped it on me. Accused me of being obsessive, of violating her privacy. Said checking camera footage made me paranoid. I almost let it go. Almost convinced myself I was overreacting. But something inside me said otherwise. Something primal. Heavy. True. And that something whispered, "She's lying." She thought I was at work. I was watching. The next morning, Melissa was scheduled for a late shift. Nothing unusual. I kissed her goodbye, dropped the kids off at daycare, and pretended to head to work. But instead of driving downtown to the office, I parked 3 blocks away, killed the engine, and waited. Heart pounding. Mouth dry. I didn't want to catch her in a lie. I wanted to be wrong. But deep down, I already knew. At 8:42 a.m., I saw her leave the house. Purse over her shoulder, coffee in hand. She looked calm, confident. She walked past our driveway, past the usual corner where she catches the bus, and rounded the block. Then she slipped into his car, the same one I'd seen on the footage, parked discreetly 1 street over. I didn't confront her. I didn't chase. I watched as they drove off together, and something in me cracked. Not like glass, like steel under pressure. Cut to narrator in his car, gripping the steering wheel. Silent, then slowly exhales. I knew it now. Without doubt. This wasn't just casual carpooling. This wasn't just a helpful coworker. This was a secret. And secrets don't live in healthy marriages. But I didn't blow up. Didn't scream. Didn't text or call her in a rage. I waited. And that night, I reviewed every frame of the past month. Over and over, he'd been picking her up. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes at night. Always when I wasn't home. And always, just out of view of the main camera. She had adjusted her routine to avoid it. That told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't an innocent oversight. This was choreography. A lie with rhythm. Rehearsal. A routine. Next scene. Narrator at his desk, looking at a private investigator's business card. The next day, I hired someone. Not because I needed more proof, but because I needed the truth. Not suspicion. Not speculation. Facts. And I needed someone else to get it for me. Someone who wasn't emotionally wrecked. Someone who didn't have 2 babies asleep in the next room. Someone who could be objective. While the PI began his work, I carried on like everything was normal. We ate dinner together. Put the kids to bed. She laughed at a show while folding laundry. She even kissed me goodnight. And I stared at the ceiling long after she fell asleep, wondering how much of our life had been a lie. The PI called. Said he had something I needed to see. I met him in a parking lot, sat in the passenger seat of his car, and watched the footage. "Melissa, Lunch break. Leaving her office. Getting into his car. They drove a few blocks, picked up food, and parked under a tree at a nearby park. And then, they laughed. They touched. They kissed. Not a polite, accidental kiss. A slow, intimate, full-body lean-in kiss. The kind that makes time stop. The kind you don't give someone unless you mean it. They kissed again, and then just sat there, smiling, eating, like teenagers in love. I didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there, feeling the tectonic shift of my world. My partner, my wife, the mother of my children, cheating, lying, smiling through it. I didn't confront her. I called a lawyer. I came home that day and said nothing. Melissa greeted me with her usual kiss on the cheek. She asked how my day went. I lied. I smiled. I said it was fine, and I tucked away the image of her lips on his. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask how long. I wanted to ask why, but I didn't. Because I knew something she didn't. I had a plan, and that plan started with a phone call. The next morning, I scheduled consultations with 3 divorce attorneys. Not because I was sure I wanted to file yet, but because I wanted to understand what my options were. I had 2 kids to think about. A mortgage, joint accounts, custody, reputation. This wasn't just about heartbreak. This was chess. And I was behind on moves. Every part of me wanted to confront her, to call her out, to throw her lies in her face. But every lawyer told me the same thing. Wait. Stay calm. Don't tip your hand. So I waited, watched, took mental notes of her patterns. I kept reviewing camera footage. Not because I doubted her guilt, but to gather a full picture. He'd stopped dropping her off in front of the house now. Too risky. She must have warned him. Smart. Sneaky. But not smart enough. They started meeting at the corner 2 blocks down. Still within view if I walked far enough. Still sloppy. The PI gave me more evidence. More photos. More logs. More timestamps. Melissa and her co-worker, let's call him Jason, had a pattern. They met 4 times a week, minimum. Shared meals. Drove to the same spots. Sat in his car for 30 to 40 minutes. I never saw them enter a hotel or anything sexual, but honestly, the emotional affair was already enough. The secrecy, the lies, the fact that she rewrote entire days just to hide what she was doing. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the betrayal of intimacy. She looked me in the eyes every night and pretended I was the only one. She kissed our kids and told them she loved them, while her phone buzzed with his messages. She lived in my house, slept in my bed, and acted like she wasn't already gone. My children were the reason I didn't fall apart completely. They grounded me, reminded me of my purpose. They deserved better than this twisted half-marriage. So I made my decision. I was going to protect them. From lies. From chaos. From watching their dad be emotionally gutted while pretending everything was okay. I filed for divorce. Quietly. Strategically. I froze our joint account temporarily. Moved my direct deposit to a private one. Photocopied every document, from birth certificates to bank statements. And then, I waited. Because the confrontation, the moment, was still coming. And it would be unforgettable. She lied. She kissed him. She lost me. That night felt like every other. Dinner. Dishes. The kids running barefoot in pajamas down the hallway, giggling. Melissa told me she'd be working late the next day. Said she had back-to-back meetings and might Uber home again. She said it casually, confidently, like a woman with nothing to hide. I just nodded, smiled, said, "Of course, babe," because the trap was already set. I sat across from her office building, disguised by tinted windows, hoodie up. I watched as she walked out around 12:30 p.m. Jason was waiting across the street. She got in his car. They laughed, talked, smiled. They grabbed food and drove to that same shady park near the highway, the one they thought was secret. They ate in the front seats, then leaned in, and kissed, and kissed. His hand rested on her thigh. Her fingers traced the edge of his collar. They were completely at ease, like they'd done this 100 times. Like they weren't risking a family, a marriage, a life together. I hit record. Not for revenge. For truth. That night, I didn't say a word. Not at dinner. Not while we bathed the kids or read them bedtime stories. But once they were asleep, I walked into the living room, stood in front of her, and said one line. "I know everything." She froze. I told her I'd seen the footage. That I knew about the park, the lunches, the hidden drop-offs. That I had the recordings, the photos, the timestamps. that I had already filed. She denied it, tried to gaslight me. You're paranoid. That's not what you think. It's not what it looks like. I told her to stop. Then I showed her the video. Her face drained of color. That's when the tears came. The apologies. The breakdown. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was just emotional. It didn't go further. I love you. I listened. And when she was done, I said, you didn't lose me when you kissed him. You lost me the moment you started lying. I left the house that night. Told her my lawyer would be in touch. Told her to keep things civil for the kids' sake. Told her not to contact me directly again. And then I walked out the front door, the same one she used to sneak back in after her secret car rides. Only this time, I was the one disappearing. It's been a few weeks since then. The paperwork is moving. We're negotiating custody now. The pain's still raw, but it's not the same pain. It's cleaner, sharper, real. I feel like I finally woke up. And as for Melissa, I don't know what story she's telling herself now. Maybe that she made a mistake. Maybe that I overreacted. Maybe she still sees herself as the victim. But I don't care anymore. Because I found my peace. Not in revenge, not in confrontation, but in truth. And in the knowledge that I'm finally free. Checkered flag, the end.